All right, quick clock, call it to order, please, everybody. Congratulations. United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we will have a building condition survey and planning for the next capital project from Young and Wright.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. Today we wanted to come in and just give you an update on your building condition survey, which Young and Wright just completed for the district, and then as well just a project update on what's been going on with your capital project. It's the 2024 project, so we'll give you an idea of what the scope is, what's happening in each building, and the timeline for those items. My name is Mike McCarthy. I'm with Young and Wright Architectural. I'm a project manager.
I'm Ashley Jewett, an associate at Wright Architectural.
David Trotter, campus construction senior project manager.
Sarah Wilder with campus, I'm the project manager.
Luke Lindsay, campus project engineer.
So our agenda for today, we're gonna go through the building condition survey. We'll explain what a building condition survey is, the findings, some of the findings from it. We'll go through the capital improvement projects, the phases, the scope and the schedule, and then comments and questions. At any time, feel free to raise your hand, let us know if you have a comment or a question about anything, and we'll be happy to answer it. Okay, so the building condition survey here at the school was just completed, this past year. They are required by the state education department every 5 years. So we did bring, around a team of 12, 15 people out into the field. They look at everything from site work, parking lots, trees, plantings, things like that, into the building, roofs, masonry, all your mechanical, HVAC, electrical systems. And we have that team people go through, they each have specific categories that they review as part of the building condition survey. And it is a state requirement, like I said, that this is done every 5 years.
So I know you guys are a little more of an experienced board. You've been through this, I think most of you with us before. But the key factor to the building condition survey is when you're done with it, having some sort of data that allows the district to use it in a meaningful way. So what is required by the state is kind of just a form that's filled out. Is this safe? Do they have it? What's the condition? What's the cost to replace it? At Young and Wright, we have a little more extensive of a building condition survey, like Ashley was explaining, with all the folks that come in. And it's really like people that specialize in that area. So I myself, I look at roofs, windows, exterior portions of the building, as well as some interior structure, not too deep into it, but some things where Ashley actually looks at some similar things, but she's a little more inside the building. We have different folks that do each thing. So this slide here is what our goal is to have meaningful data that we give back to you guys to take a look at. And what that means is really expanding on just the original findings. So part of the building condition survey, you need to look at windows. Are they good? Are they functional? So on and so forth. That's the criteria. At Young and Wright, what we like to do is go a bit deeper. So you can see it on this plan. I don't know if we can make this any bigger or not, but the example shows a floor plan of a school building, and then we categorize it by year. So you can see on there each year, the original building, the addition, so on and so forth off of it. So we categorize it by building year as well as window type. So what that means is basically when you want to replace something, we can look at it holistically and go into that. So if it just says at the end of the building condition survey, there's some windows that are bad, about $20,000, we recommend you replace them. When you go back to do a project, you don't really know what that means. With ours, we show you on a floor plan, we tell you the year of the building it's in, the type of the windows, and where they are specifically. We'll show you some slides for that. So it's really easy to start to look at that and dive deeper into it. And with the actual building year and type, it allows you to see commonalities between that as well. So you might say, hey, we want to replace the 1980 windows that are aluminum. You can quickly flip to a slide, see where all of those are, and then go into that from there. As well as this also applies on the buildings and ground side of things. So for Mr. Joe Farr, when he has a window that's maybe damaged or something, he can pull it up, look at a year, and determine how to fix it, who to call, or so on and so forth with that. And that's with every system in the building. That's plumbing, that's electrical, that's floor systems, that's everything. One thing that we've seen in a lot of buildings, I've been in schools that maybe even we don't necessarily work for all the time. They'll call us and say, hey, we have a plumbing, we have a leak in the building. We can't find where to snake the drain out. So we'll flip back to plans, find it, and do all of those things as well. What we give you at the end is plans, where they're located by year, as well as all this other information. So it's really important in that direction as well.
Okay, and some of the findings from this year's building condition survey are actually already part of the 2024 capital improvement project that we're currently designing. One of the major items that was in this is the parking lots here at the high school, specifically back by the loading dock, out by the front of the auditorium here. You can see they're all shown in red on the plan, and there is 2 pictures. You can see how damaged the roadways and the parking lots are. We noted it as unsatisfactory with 3 years remaining useful life. So that'll take into consideration the design time, the SED review time, and hopefully within 3 years, the parking lot will be replaced. So we do this, like Mike and I said, for every different system throughout the school. So one of the other items that we found as well was the roof replacement here at the high school as well. Same thing, unsatisfactory, less than 3 years remaining, not more under warranty anymore. So the whole entire roof system here will be replaced as part of the capital improvement project as well.
And one thing to note, like we were saying, is we do it by year. So you'll notice kind of the science edition at the lower right-hand side of that portion that is not in red. That's because that roof wasn't installed that year. We have another slide that would correspond with that roof that it's also in red. We don't have all these slides to show you. There's quite a few of them. But that's important for that too. So we really make sure each one of those years pays attention to that. Okay, so another item we looked at here, so this is over at the elementary school. We did each one of the district buildings, and it has to include every building that students are in. So that's important for that as well. So with masonry, we located definitely some areas that were unsatisfactory. And when we are doing this, it is at the time of review. So like Ashley's 2 that she noted, those were in this current project. When we were doing that, we knew that we were replacing it as part of the project, but we're still reviewing it in an as-is situation. What that also means too is that we're including costs to replace it as is as well. So if you were looking at a floor, it's a rug, we add a cost that's to replace with a rug. If we decide then in a project that, hey, we want it to be a wood floor or something, those prices could change, but it's at least a starting point for the district and for us to get planning on a new project. So we know that there's some extra masonry at that project. We know this building's from 1939. I'm sure all of you at home have some things you'd love to do to the outside of your house. So it's just like a housekeeping item that you have to keep up with. It's an old building, it has masonry work, and it's a consistent thing.
And then this is in addition to all the masonry work that was done past capital project. It's a ever progressing amount of masonry that just has to be kept up at that school and that is moving itself.
Right, and there's actually some shown on here that in the current phase that's happening in the emergency project that Luke's in charge of, there's some work that the roofer found that said, hey, while I'm here, I really think we should address some of those items. So some of it's being taken care of now. So the price that's on there, I can't see because there's a bar in front of it on my screen, but I think it's, so it's roughly around $148,000 that we noted on that. Some of it's already taking place now. Okay, another big item that we noted in this is the classrooms that are within the elementary school themselves. They're old, they're outdated. We've started that in the previous project, replacing those classrooms. As some of you are aware, I'm sure you've seen some of the new ones. So again, we've noted those as unsatisfactory, 5 years. Some of what we put in there too, to note is just what the condition is. It's also based on the useful life of rooms. We know those rooms were very old. They still are currently working. Students can sit in there. So when it says unsatisfactory, it doesn't mean unsafe or anything in those matters. It just means it's past useful life. Everything's outdated, kind of in a need to replace it.
building thing, do you, know unsafe things or just?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, so if there was something specific that we found on site, like if I'm on a roof and I find something, a big branch fell and is laying up there, we will note it. But something like that, I would also call your buildings and grounds right away. Usually I would take a picture and text it to them and say, hey, we found this type of thing. There's also items that you'll see on there that are non-functioning too, that those could be things that are unsafe, or there's critical failure is one item too. There are things that could be unsafe, or it could be it's just not working. So like a non-functioning thing too, if you guys had a heating system that was in a wall that at one point it was replaced and maybe the old one was abandoned there, like it was just chose to not come out, that might be a non-functioning thing as well.
And then critical failures, non-functioning item, anything like that, we'll sit down with the district and go through line item by line item. Specifically like with, Joe, we'll go through, those items first. A lot of times, the critical failure items will be tied into a structural review. We can only give our expertise so much. We want to make sure we bring in, for example, there's a really bad column, we'll bring a structural engineer. He might take a look at it and say, really not in bad shape, you really could fix it up. So we give a high price tag for those items, we bring those to the forefront, but we make sure that we get those evaluated by an expert right away.
So
Gerald, sorry. So one thing that was kind of unsafe, that's being done with the current roof replacement at Eden Elementary is there's some chimney damage up there along with some gutter damage. And I think it's either in today's thing or we approved it last meeting. We talked about it last meeting, but that's something that we've addressed as being unsafe and try to address that, when we can in these projects and stuff like that. So we were, maybe 2 months ago, we were at a capital project meeting and we went out and addressed it and got the bid since the guys were out here, the companies were out here to do it. And, last thing we want is some of the chimney falling on the front sidewalk. So.
Okay, so what do we do with all this data once we get it? So first thing we do is we take a look at what it means, what we came up with. And it's usually a big number, which it's not meant to scare you. And it doesn't necessarily mean this is, hey, you got to write a check for this or something like that. So you can see a bit of a total there. So again, we add years for what we think things are to be replaced. So, we'll take a look at the bus garage in the top left corner. Roughly, we found, within a year of replacement, we're looking at around $500,000 worth of stuff. 3 years out, almost 7 million. 5 years from that, 2.2, and 7 years, 5. A lot of those items, like we said, are things that are just approaching useful life. So there could be a boiler in that building that is 20 years old, that's working great, or Joe's guys can do something to keep it working. So it's essentially working, or the roof is working, but we know the warranty is coming up. We know things only last so long. So we want to plan for the future in order to replace those items. It's very important to keep those things going and making sure they're replaced before they're broken. Like Ashley was mentioning too, when there is something that we see needs a closer look at something from an expert, we put a big item in there. So for the bus garage specifically, we review this before me and Ashley looked at it and we're like, that seems like a little higher than what I expected. We looked in there, there were 4 items in there, that there were some cracks in the slab, a couple other things that we noted that we wanted a structural review to happen with that. We put $1 million in for that right away. And like Ashley said, the reason we want that is when we review it with you guys, we want that to pop to the top. So we remember to look at that because we wouldn't want to replace a floor over something that's damaged structurally.
And then might not necessarily be $1 million item. It just brings it to the top of the building survey list. And then we make sure that we do budget enough money if we do have to replace columns or part of the floor slab or something like that.
I don't want to split hairs. I just have a quick question. So when you look at the total for the bus garage, this is the existing bus garage, not the potential for the other bus garage that we may need going to electrification. So this is not taking any of that into account.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Bus garage adds things condition with no additional district needs or wants. So. Okay, and then after we get all of this data, we do prioritize it into a long-term plan that the district can look at to determine what they want to do going forward for capital improvement projects. if they have any grant projects, if they have any capital outlay projects that they wanna work on. So it all goes together in a nice timeline. You could have, like I said, you could have grant projects, you could do an EPC project. You could then, take off some smaller items, for example, carpet replacement, you know, you could do that as a maintenance project within each building. And then from there on, you can kind of plan out, maybe in another 5 years, once this capital project is done. You then put the remainder of these items from the building condition survey to your next capital project. So it just turns out to be a nice timeline to see when you need to go out again to the public for another referendum.
And we did this process with the last project. So currently we're in a $19 million project with you guys now. That we're gonna show you what we've been working on with that now. Any items that didn't make it into that are at the top of the list for the next one. So that way we keep track of everything and we know what wants to be next. It's also a great thing for you guys as a board to have a long-term plan. Because when someone says, you know, hey, there's some, looks like that chimney's damaged, we have some, you know, masonry work to do. Well, we're looking at that in the next project. It's roughly $500,000 and we would like to address it then. So it gives a good idea of what needs to happen when, and you know, what can be accomplished. So with that as well, there are a ton of slides, a ton of information. Obviously, each one has into that goes into that. So it's all information that we turn over to the district that is searchable as well. It comes in all sorts of different formats. So the slides that you guys looked at were actually FileMaker is the program that we use to create that. So we can send it over that way. You guys have it in PDF form as well as in an Excel form as well. So it's all sorts of searchable methods in order to do that. Any questions on the building condition survey? It's a lot of information to look at and even digest. So
Good news about the bus garage, Jen, is there's been a freeze on the electric for houses starting in January. Where there's hope yet.
We'll talk about that later.
So again, like we were saying, you know, when we did the last building condition survey, we sat down with campus, your team came up with the project. And now we're executing that work that the public voted on. You guys had a 2-prop vote last time, Prop 1 passed. So that's what we're currently working on. Okay. So originally when we first planned this project, we were going to have 2 phases. First phase was going to be the high school roof and parking lot. Second phase of work was going to be GLP and the elementary school roof. As this board is well aware, the elementary school roof was in disrepair. It was getting out of warranty. You guys sat on the stage where there were times that there was water dripping around that area. So we knew that we needed to replace that fast. You guys acted on those items and voted that as an emergency project, which means you could put it into the state a little quicker and get that work completed. So we're midway through that work now. And what that included was the roof replacement on top of the elementary school, the entire roof, as well as the repairs that were caused by damage from the roof failing, which that was the auditorium ceiling, which I know you guys have been dealing with for a while, as well as the stage floor. Water had dripped on that and caused some damage, and then some repairs in the gym and some other miscellaneous painting and such with that. So we're going to have Luke talk about a few items with schedule and such.
Yes, so the budget for this last phase of construction was about $1.8 million. Over this last summer, we were able to replace about half of the scheduled roof rehabilitation and the auditorium floor and plaster ceiling that Mike just mentioned. And then we will complete the remaining scope of the roof as soon as weather breaks in the spring.
So another big part of this part of the project as well was your district, Mrs. May and Mr. Sortisio worked hard with your insurance company in order to secure some additional funds. Because part of what you're experiencing with the leaking out of warranty was an insurance issue. So we've been able to secure some funds with that. That also helps to offset some other ones in order to complete some of that work. And we're still constantly working with them to even update that further. So that was supposed to be phase 2, but it got moved up because of the insurance and the emergency project.
Moving back to phase 1, which is currently being reviewed by the fiscal associate at SED. We have approval on our drawings, we're just waiting for SED to do a final review on that phase. The phase one work involves the middle high school roof rehabilitation. So similar to what you just saw in the picture from Eden Elementary. And then parking lot replacement as well. So that's their rear student parking lot back by the tennis courts. And then the alternate for that parking lot replacement is the big lot out by the auditorium.
All right, and the budget for phase one is approximately $12 million, so we'll see how bids come in the early next year when we bid. But like Ashley said, they're done designing and this phase is at SED right now being reviewed. And hopefully approved soon, and then as soon as they're complete with their review, we'll put it out to bid, and then construction will start as soon as weather allows, they can start on the parking lots. And then we'll close out in the winter of 27.
And the big one with that is what campus is working on too, is determining how it is to do that construction. This roof is obviously huge. It's a lot bigger than the elementary school, so they have to phase it properly to get it all done. Over 2 summers is what we're planning. Okay, phase 2. Sorry, a little confusing. This work is all at GLP. So this is the parking lot as well as some sidewalk replacements with some lighting upgrades in the parking lot itself. This is the 2 rooms at the end that are pre-K rooms. It's a renovation of those 2 spaces fully, as well as some restroom renovation work and door and relief air work with that too. So in the photos on this page, you can see the parking lot is a bit in disrepair, and that door that you're looking at there, what that door relief air work means is when this building was constructed, it was done so by the codes at that time. It now is out of code a little bit, and basically what that means is the relief air in the classrooms is tied in with the hallway. We want to pull it off of that, and we're adding relief air directly to the outside from those classrooms. So it just makes it a bit safer, brings it into code, and completes that work in those areas there.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the schedule for phase 2. So originally, when we created this project, construction was going to be over 3 years, 26, 27, and 28. By having the emergency project for the roof at Eden Elementary School, that work will moved up to 26 and 27. That roof work was originally going to be in 2028 due to funding criteria still in New York City. Because of that is now eliminated, we no longer need to wait until 2028 to do that work. So we're going to shorten the project from 3 years to 2 years, which will save the district money. So in 2027, we will focus primarily on GLP. That'll be it.
Okay, so with this project, it's a lot of nuts and bolts, warranty issues, not necessarily fun to look at items. And it's a lot of things that when it's done, it's making your buildings warm, safe, and dry, which is very important. But there's the one that's a little bit more fun, which is the GLP classrooms themselves. So we've been able to have some meetings with the district as well as with Mrs. Carter from GLP building, some of her staff, and also some parents of kids that were in there. So we've been able to get their wants, their needs, come up with a plan, which we created some renderings from, which we're going to share with you guys, and kind of change those around to make sure they fit all the kids' needs. So existing, I'm sure some of you haven't been in there in a while. These are the existing classrooms. They're good sized rooms. When they were built, they had a dividing wall in the middle that you could open up. So when you're in those rooms, which can get a little loud with some kids, you can hear right through that wall. We're getting rid of that, putting a solid wall between it. They do have a lot of storage now, but you can see the easiest picture to see it on is in the one on the right. It's the upper wood storage area there. That is about 14 feet high to the top. No one can use that. No one can get up there. We don't want people climbing on ladders to get up there to do it anyway. So it's kind of an unused area. So they have ample storage, but some of it isn't very good. So we're replacing a lot of that and creating a new space for them with that. These rooms also are not equipped with bathrooms, which when you have to take the little kids out of there, you have to travel down the hallway a bit. So that has to pull a teacher or an aide out with those kids. We are going to be adding a laboratory into each one of those rooms. So some conceptual renderings that we're working off of in order to create them. So In this one, you can see there's some clouds in there. Those are actually going to be sound baffles as well to help with sound. There's going to be storage, as well as built-in TVs, media and bookstores for that. Those ones on the left side of the photo, those are whiteboards, that are also magnetic. Those were used at the elementary school new classrooms too, which I've seen those used quite a bit. Teachers seem to love those. So we're adding some of those in. Below the TV, it's some short, kind of narrow bookstores so kids can still walk up to the TV. Those are going to be nice low TVs because all those kids know how to use touchscreens now. And then you can see kind of on the right there is a sink. There's going to be one that's low for kids to specifically use and one that's a little higher for the teachers to use. One thing that's kind of nice about those, it's a single bowl sink, but it each has 2 faucets. So while you have 2 sinks, you're going to have 4 faucets. So when you're doing finger painting or something like that, you can roll through kids pretty quickly to wash their hands. Okay, on the other sides of the classrooms, both kind of mimic each other. One thing that the teachers wanted to use, they have a lot of stations in those rooms and needs for what they're teaching kids. So they wanted some kind of built-in cubby type areas that they could use for different lessons to teach the kids. Lessons like a tool area, one with it could be a supermarket, could be a doctor's office, but they could use them throughout the year for that. So those spaces, they're not real deep. You could fit a couple kids in there and you could do all sorts of cool things with them. We're going to have them look like the outside of a building. It's really kind of a fun space for the kids. Those areas do not have a roof on top of them. So if you're the teacher, you could come over there and peek inside, which also helps create not a confined area for the kids. That's also can be a fire issue. So we like to make sure we keep those open and it's easy for visible use for the teachers in there. We're going to do a lot of graphics in there, some vinyl graphics. One thing to note too in this image, kind of on the left of those rooms that you can see, that is going to be the new unit ventilator. In old classrooms, you're used to seeing below the window that horizontal thing that you stick your pencil in and it makes a loud noise and blows air out. Those are a thing of the past now. And now we like to use vertical unit ventilators. And what those do, which is I think the best part, is they actually tie to ducts in the ceiling. So that kid that's sitting next to that all day long that has the wind blowing in their ear, that doesn't happen anymore. It's spread universally throughout the classroom. So it's a lot quieter as well too. They're not as pretty, I don't think, to look at that thing, but we're planning to do some wrap on those in these rooms specifically.
Yeah, think about it more like a furnace in your house with all, the different ducts in the different rooms. It kind of functions the same.
More of a forced air type of idea.
Maybe it's the air.
Yeah. And then we will have some complementary heat too, some radiant heat under the windows, which is needed as well. New blinds in those areas. You can see on the right side of this, there's a lot of under window storage, kind of like bench seating, book storage, cork boards. Here's a better view of that, kind of looking at the window area. Get a full use of that room. We're also going to have some interesting parts of the ceiling too, some drop down lights, just to hopefully draw some more interest into those rooms. And they're kind of natural, soft colors for the kids, a little more exciting. It just kind of makes it a bit fun for them.
So if you were a parent of a 1-year-old, you'd be pretty excited about these classrooms. Anybody? Oh, there you go.
So that's kind of all the scope. Any questions we can answer for you?
Mike, going back to the building condition survey, and you guys really did an overview, and it's a really comprehensive report that would take many hours to go through. How much detail do you guys go does your report get into in different spaces?
So as far as like space specific?
Yeah, so say you were in our phys ed locker rooms. How deep a dive do you go in terms of the quality of the lockers, that type of thing?
Yeah, so we do a specific slide, which actually is not an SED required slide for that specifically. So there's one person, which I think sometimes is Ashley. She would go in there and evaluate it based on how old it is, the looks, the conditions, all of those items, as well as all of the other folks coming in there too. So Ashley would give it a overview of what the condition is and satisfactory level. And then there would also be someone that would come in and evaluate it from like a deeper dive, like the flooring. So usually it's a tile floor. Someone would come in and say, hey, there's some missing tiles. You've switched benches around a few times. There's some spots that are just missing tile. we'd recommend that. So we would have it actually in two places for that to make sure we're covering that depending on what we're addressing.
Okay.
Obviously did a full renovation of this space. That was obviously a much higher cost than if we just looked at all the different items individually, replacing the carpet floor, replacing the ceiling, replacing the lighting, things like that. So you can look at it system wise, if you want to replace, all the carpeting throughout the school, you can look at the system. However, if you want to renovate all the locker rooms in the school, you can look at it by category of locker room. So it really does break it down. There's probably an additional, I think, 60 categories at least that we look at. That are big ticket items when schools are doing capital projects. Things that SCD doesn't care about. They don't care about your locker rooms, they don't care about your libraries, your nurse's office, your main office, secure entrances, things like that. Those are all additional categories that we have taken a look at Young and Right doing the building condition survey. There are more of the nuts and bolts, your windows, your doors, your roofs, your mechanical systems, things like that.
So I'm just going to show you real quick here. On this slide, I went back to the building conditions survey slide specifically. This is elementary school. This is general classrooms specifically. So this was Sakina in our office that did it. The year of construction in this area was 1949. So this is kind of over district office by the art room over that way. So she makes a bunch of notes in there. VAT, floors are old, cracked, separated further apart. Some corners are crumbling. Walls have a wooden base that's beat up. Walls are in good condition, which are plaster walls. Those usually last quite a bit. Most spaces are missing transition strips, thresholds. ACT ceiling is old, outdated, so on and so forth. So it gives more of an overview for the room itself, and then ties in a number for that. So she allocated, she looked at, right now we're looking at the second floor on the floor plan. There's 8 classrooms there. There's some on the first floor, roughly 5,400 square feet of space. We noted that as unsatisfactory, which gives about 5 years of replacement. Now, obviously, kids could sit in there for probably 100 years, but it wouldn't, it would just continue to get worse looking in there. So we add a cost to that for 5 years, and that was $400 square foot. Times that by the $5,400, $2.1 million to replace those rooms. That's obviously a cost that we're just kind of putting a number to. Obviously, when we dial things in with campus. We come up with like a little more of an estimate based on what you guys want and then go from there.
And these are direct construction numbers if you replace this classroom or renovate this classroom today. This doesn't account for escalation, for incidentals, for testing, for things like that. So if you wanted to renovate that classroom today, around $400 is going to help you issue some nice renovations in that space.
Okay. So, I mean, just what you presented today on the building condition survey, it clearly demonstrates that there's a number of classrooms in elementary that need attention. And we know that was a big part of Prop 2. Do you get to the granular level, and let's use this building for an example, where I know, and Joe and I have talked about this, we need shade replacements. I mean, we're all over the place where there's not a consistent product. Does that come out in your survey as well?
It does. So that would be a window. There's a window slide specifically like the one I was talking about. I don't have it here to share with you right now.
Joe doesn't know how to turn on the iPad that you gave him yet, so we haven't had a chance to take a look at it.
He did call. We talked him through it. So it's he should be up and running. But it is, once you're used to it, it's very searchable. And like I said, it comes in different formats. So that way, when Frankie's looking at it, I'm sure she doesn't care about a lot of this information. She goes into Excel, which is a little more numbers based. She can hop in there and find it just as easily with that. An important thing too is when we were reviewing this, let's say you guys are doing your next project and you're like, hey, we want to dive into $10 million to look at, see what this is. We set what's the highest $10 million worth of work you want to look at. All of that filters to the top. Then when you're looking at it in Excel format, that record number, it's kind of in the top middle, right below where it says Eden School District. There's a number right there. That is 03196. That ties to the Excel, that ties to every format that you can look at. So if we're sitting in a meeting going through the Excel, kind of in a more broad topic, and it's replace classrooms, $2 million, 3196, what does that mean? Don says, I don't understand where this is. We type in 3196. This pops up. We can point to it on the floor plan and show you specifically the classrooms we're talking about with photo examples. You're only seeing 2 photo examples here in the PDF form. There's another 4 that are tied to another sheet. So you could get a better view of it with that.
Okay. 2 more questions for you.
Go ahead.
You said, when we were looking at those pre-K classrooms, Henry's future classrooms, about baffling or whatever the phrase was. And that drew me back to a conversation you and I had in our auditorium. Did it make it into the building condition survey that we're at the end of the life for the sound components in that?
Yeah, I believe that's in there too, sound attenuation, and that would be in the overall one as well. That would be looked at specifically there.
Because when we met with that expert in the field, they were degrading. It was a sooner rather than later component.
Yeah, they're actually an old form. It's a fiberglass panel that's in there now that is degrading over time. It just, crumbles like everything else at some point. So they're in a bit of a state there. So that would be included in a replacement cost for the auditorium.
And I think what he said is that it's actually off-putting something
Yes.
that's not good.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have, this is an examination of where we are today, right? This doesn't include air conditioning that currently doesn't exist, right?
Correct.
So it's not like those numbers are baked in here anyway, because it doesn't exist in most of our classrooms.
Correct. There is an air conditioning slide that if you pull it up, it shows the areas that are air conditioned on the floor plan, but it doesn't take into account adding additional air conditioning.
And that's where we'll sit down with the district to come up with your long-term plan for the next capital project. Those items, you want to look at adding air conditioning to one or all of your buildings. That would get listed as a district requested item. We work with campus construction, get some good cost estimate numbers in there. And that could be anything, air conditioning, like you said, adding more sound panels or doing something drastically different to a space than what we have. Just for a general renovation cost, those items we added frequently to the long-term plan as well.
I got one question in regards to our last presentation we had last meeting on the electric buses. Are we taking into consideration the weight of the new buses in possibly with the alternative of the new pad out here being put in, being able to handle the new buses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Currently drive now, that's usually always heavy duty asphalt that's put in. We work with our civil engineer and our landscape architect to make sure that any path of bus or truck travel, the loading down area, things like that heavy duty asphalt or concrete, is put in those areas.
But do we have to take it to another level with the electric buses?
The electric bus,
No, they weigh more.
heavy duty asphalt, they're not.
Okay.
extra heavy duty asphalt,
Okay.
the electric buses. When we just did the project up at Lake Shore for their transportation center lot, we just used the standard heavy duty asphalt for the lot, for the sidewalk.
Okay.
And one thing too, actually, Joe has reviewed the spec too. He had some specific requests in there too for the asphalt and the mixes that come in with a lot of those items to make sure that they are exactly what he's worked with in the past that work. Our structural engineer or our civil engineer does use those too. So it's also like a double check policy there for that, which is good too. And just one last thing too, obviously this is, something, it's a big lift for us. There's a lot of us that come in and do this. It's equally taxing on you guys. We come in months before we walk the entire district with Joe, principals. We ask for comments. I've worked with Lauren, probably 3 of these now. We can't see everything that happens day to day. When we're doing these building condition surveys, if this window leaks when it rains 1.2 inches on a Wednesday and it's windy, if I'm here on a Friday, I don't know that happened. So we come in, we check with the teachers, the principals, they let us know of those items that we might not necessarily see every day. And then we make sure those get into that as well. Because the one thing that the building condition survey and SCD does is they will check it a little bit. I mean, if you guys came in and said, hey, we're building a dome over the football stadium, they might say, hey, we looked at your building condition survey and you need to address some handicap accessibility or something. We make sure things fall into line appropriately for that. And that's kind of where that check comes in with that. So it's important to have all those items.
That comes in big, even for like the emergency project. They want to see proof that, it was in bad condition. So we did send them actually the slide at Eden Elementary of our past building condition survey. Saying the roof did need to be replaced, that we have, portions of the masonry work in the past capital project. So it actually really does come in handy for sort of proving your case if you do run into an emergency too.
So my last comment, which is now my second last comment. I think it's important for all of us to remember that, again, this is a point in time study. And you're also forecasting ahead. So when we're looking at parking lots, and we're saying end of life is in about 3 years. We're required, first off, to do a building condition survey every 5 years. So obviously we have to do some projections. And while a parking lot may look okay now, we also know when the end of life is based on its use and when it was installed. And we are also married to when we can do projects. Based on when the maximum cost allowance resets, and we could ignore parking lots, for instance, the one along the softball diamond into the back, because how often does that get used? But it's been ignored for a number of years. And think about the level of degradation that's going to happen over time if we don't address it when we can. All right. That is the last comment.
I just have a quick question. I'm talking about roofs. I know, was it last year, the science wing, there was a big leak? Oh, okay. Is that like the integrity of the roof? Is that constitute an emergency? Because there's a couple leaks, I think. I don't know.
There's a couple of different things with that roof. It's a very flat roof, and we've had some issues with the drains there for sure. So when we start we've designed the next project, but when we start staging that next project, so hear me, Luke, we're starting with the science wing. Okay. That's how we're going to make some of those decisions.
Because and then I think the foyer, there's been leaks too. So that's gonna take care.
Yeah, Jen, I would say is when you designate it as an emergency project, that truly is up to the school board. That you guys could really designate anything as that. I think with elementary school, obviously classes were being held in there that then couldn't be, and it was just a giant space that you guys couldn't use. Unfortunately, for longer than we would have liked. But with speeding everything up, it's able to get done and get everything fixed in there. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have a presentation on athletics and end of the season report from Mr. Jay Owanko.
Good evening, members of the school board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present an overview of our fall athletic programs. I'd like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude on behalf of the entire athletic department for your unwavering support and dedication to our student athletes and our programs. This fall was both an exciting and very busy season for Eden Athletics. We currently offer more than 23 sports across various levels in the fall. Nearly half of our programs will be run throughout the year compete during the fall season. As an athletic director, one of my primary goals is to always increase student involvement in athletics. This fall, approximately 62% of our students participate in at least one sport. Winter sports actually started today for JV varsity and modified wrestling. Our participant numbers still continue to rise, and we're about 167 students fall for this coming up. I'm proud to share that every varsity team again earned Scholar Athlete recognition this season, meaning at least 75% of each roster held a 90 or above academic average. In total, we recognized over 130 varsity Scholar Athletes, which is up from last year. I think last year we had 84. So that's a huge number, huge jump this year for our programs. Some notable accomplishments this fall. Field hockey lost in the semis to the overall champs, Akron, in OT 3-2, which is significant about that is Akron during the regular season only allowed 2 goals the whole season. We were able to do it. It was a tough loss. That's 2 in a row against Akron, but the team played great, a lot of seniors, and the coach was excellent this year. Football team hosted and won their first home playoff game in 13 years. So great accomplishment for them. I just found out today, actually, that Brady Waring, the quarterback for our team, is the finalist for the Connolly Cup, which means is the MVP goes to the MVP of the overall season. So that would be in mid-December, where hopefully he can get that for us as well. Swimming and diving in the class meet, Mia Scott finished 16th in the 50 free and 2nd in diving and 7th overall at sectionals for diving. Grace Ritz finished 4th in the class for diving and 10th overall at sectionals. Our girls volleyball and boys volleyball teams both ECIC league champions this year, and both teams finished as Section 6 runner-ups in their respective classes. Cross country, the girls and the boys were also ECIC division champions. Both teams finished as Section 6 runner-ups as well, where the girls finished 2nd in the Class C2. They ended up not getting a red patch because of one runner. Their second place, how tiebreakers go, their second place runner was faster than our second place runner. So it's kind of crazy like that. But the boys were Class C2 champions for the section. Gia Fedor missed the trip to states by just 2 seconds, so I was really proud of her. Sam Zittel qualified with a 10th place finish at sectionals. He competed last Saturday at states, finishing 34th out of 200 plus runners with a time of 16:58. So congratulations to Sam as well. Last but not least, our game day cheerleading team. Our team had a dominant fall season, winning every competition, including the ECIC championships and sectional championships, which earned them a trip to the state championships 2 weekends ago. 2 weekends ago, yeah. Also, last Wednesday, we held a signing day ceremony where 6 senior student athletes officially committed to continue their athletic careers at the next level. This event honored their dedication, hard work, and the support of their families, coaches, and school community. We are incredibly proud of their achievements and excited to see what they represent even beyond high school. All this success is possible because of the incredible people who make up our athletic department. I would like to take a moment to thank our athletes, coaches, game day supervisors, maintenance department, technology department, transportation department, our athletic trainer, and especially my athletic secretary. I'm proud to work with them each and every day. At this time, I would like to invite 2 of our senior student athletes to share their experience and speak to what Eden Athletics has meant to them. Please welcome Evan Ecker and Kylie Wigornowski, both talented 3-sport athletes for us.
I don't know if we'll be able to reach this microphone, but okay. Hi, my name is Kylie Wigornowski. I come in front of you all today to share how sports have really shaped my life over the past 6 years. It's not just about the games themselves, but what I've learned and how I've grown as a person. Being part of a team has taught me the importance of working together. I learned how to support others, communicate effectively, and understand different perspectives. These skills are useful not only on the field, but also in school and my relationship with my friends and family. Sports have taught me about resilience and perseverance. There have been tough losses and challenging practices, but each time I've learned to bounce back and keep pushing forward. This mindset has helped me face other challenges in life with more confidence and determination. I started playing sports when I was just a little kid and I knew nothing other than what that life was. Waking up early for practices, staying late to perfect a skill, all the tough times, and I wouldn't change a thing. Sports have brought me my best friends, people I will never forget, and the ones I will remember forever. Coaches have taught me important life lessons have helped shape me into the person I am today, and I couldn't thank them enough. I started my Eden sports career when I was in 6th grade as a munchkin playing field hockey with my sister. During my time at Eden, I played field hockey for 7 years, lacrosse for 6, volleyball for 1, basketball for 1, and ice hockey for 6 years. During my COVID year, I was able to play 4 sports due to the timing of everything, and I loved it. It showed me new opportunities, and I was able to do things I would have never done before. Playing sports for 6 years throughout high school has shaped my life far beyond the field. It taught me discipline, showing up to early practices, balancing schoolwork, and staying committed even when it was difficult. I learned how to work with others, trust my teammates, and communicate under pressure. Sports also pushed me to handle setbacks with resilience, whether it was losing a game, recovering from a mistake, or pushing through fatigue. Over time, I gained confidence, leadership skills, and a stronger understanding of who I am and capable of. These lessons I learned over the 6 years continue to influence how I approach challenges, set goals, and collaborate with others in every part of my life. Being a 3-sport athlete during school has taught me how hard I really need to work in school and how I can't just put shit behind me. I will continue my sports career at Lockhaven University to play D2 lacrosse, and I couldn't be more excited. I will be studying physical therapy, which I was inspired to do because I was injured, and they helped me continue to return to the sports I love. These are just a few ways how Eden athletics and sports have impacted my life, and I hope they can do the same for others.
Hi, my name is Evan Ecker. You may know me. I was in the musical a few years ago. I'm always screaming on the announcements. Anyways, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet because I kind of want to go home. I'm really hungry after tryouts. But if you would have asked me at the start of my freshman year that I would be fully involved in 3 sports, I probably would have laughed in your face. Sports were never my thing. I've always loved theater, acting, art. You can see it in the showcase. I never thought of sports. In my sophomore year, I decided that I was done with the musical and I wanted to try both cheerleading and track. Instantly, I fell in love with the sports. They became my passions. To me, Eden Athletics is more than just a school department. It means home. Going to my practice after a long day at school never fails to brighten my mood. Coming to cheer, I feel boundless support from all my teammates and coaches and the department itself. Stepping into the mat for the first time made me realize that I was where I was supposed to be, even to the point where I'm looking to cheer in college now. Without Eden Athletics, I wouldn't have been able to discover my avidity for cheerleading and open a whole new world for myself. At the start of track, I was skeptical. Throwing shot and disc was entirely a new experience, needing precision and strength to push yourself to the fullest. My coach even saying it's a delicate balance between ballet and WWE. Without the support from Eden Athletics and all the coaches, I would never have been recruited to track and field for Fredonia. Was not expecting that. But Eden Athletics has changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm eternally grateful for every opportunity that was presented to me in my high school career. I'd like to thank my coaches, Mel and Kelly, as well as my athletic director, Mr. Iwanko, for everything they've ever done for me.
Do you know that some colleges also recruit mascots that or gymnasts that you can get scholarships and stuff for that? Go for it.
Thank you, Evan and Kylie, for sharing your experience and for being outstanding ambassadors for Eden Athletics. Before we conclude today, I do have a short slideshow. I always say short, but it's never that short. As we look ahead to the winter season, I want to assure the board and our school community that I will continue to lead with determination and grit to develop responsible students who demonstrate strong character, sound morals, and a commitment to the Eden community. Once again, thank you for your ongoing support. Your commitment is a driving force behind our success, and we are truly grateful to work with such a dedicated and forward-thinking Board of Education. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
At this point in time, are there any requests to withdraw specific items from the consent agenda? No. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, consensus items be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
I have to abstain from O.
Oh,
It's my brother-in-law.
What happened?
Abstain from O, approve all others.
I'm confused. Anyway. On to the public comment. This is the approximate position and time that the board has designated to receive statements from individuals and groups. The board will review all statements, then respond appropriately at a future meeting. All persons in attendance are required to sign the attendance sheet and designate their representation status. For example, parent, teacher, bus driver, chamber of commerce, etc. There is a 2-minute limit.
Hi, I'm Albert Peasley, a resident of the district. At the last board meeting, the October 20th meeting, you voted to send a corrective action plan to New York State Controller's Office. May have an issue with one of your statements. You responded, quote, "The district does not intend to establish a specific dollar threshold for professional services, as this is not a requirement under general municipal law," unquote. I don't understand the context of the statement. You could list a specific dollar threshold for professional services in the policy manual, like Frontier Central School District did. Their code, states, quote, "Except as otherwise provided by law, for professional services, contracts involving an expenditure of more than $50,000, the district will use the request for proposal process as set forth in the general municipal law," unquote. Your own policy under code 5411 says, "In order to procure professional services, the district will use the request for proposals process as set forth in general municipal law." I think a reasonable person would conclude that all professional services that Eden pays for went through a request for proposals process. In fact, that's what the New York State Controller audit said in their audit of you from the period October 14, 2020 to March 2024. They stated officials did not seek competition for professional service, while the district's purchasing policy and procurement procedures require district officials to use their request for proposals when contracting for professional services. By not establishing a specific dollar threshold, what is the board's intention, I would ask? If you decide not to do an RFP for everyone, like the code 541 states, then that code should be changed. And if you change it, why not use a dollar threshold like Frontier? And my suggestion is if you do change it, you would do a yearly threshold or look what service you used in the past year, and that would be the threshold. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks. Anyone else?
New business and resignations. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the resignation for the purpose of retirement of German teacher Kirsten Kreinen be accepted effective July 1st, 2026. The board and administration wish to thank Mrs. Kreinen for her 27 years of service to the district.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
Saying I really.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the resignation of cafeteria monitor Stephen McDonald be accepted effective November 21st, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the resignation of clerk typist Tracy Himes be accepted effective November 26, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
This is new business and appointments. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, after successfully completing her probationary period, Nicole Baldelli be permanently appointed as a teacher aide effective December 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Kiera Rupp be appointed on probation as a teacher aide effective November 12th, 2025, and ending March 11th, 2026. Salary is based upon CSEA contract level 4, step 1.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Mindy Winship be appointed on probation as a teacher aide effective November 5th, 2025, and ending May 4th, 2026. Salary is based upon CSEA contract level 4, step 1.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Jean Seidel be appointed on probation as a clerk typist, HELPS, effective November 18th, 2025, and ending on January 14th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion?
So just a point of clarification that the HELPS program is new with civil service. It allows us to retain employees that were provisionally hired, who have been working with us for quite a period of time. It's actually modernizing the way that we're able to hire and retain folks in these positions.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Claire Baker be appointed on probation as a senior clerk typist, HELPS, effective November 18th, 2025, and ending on May 19th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Stephen Thexton be appointed on probation as bus driver effective November 18th, 2025, and ending May 17th, 2026. Salary is based upon CSEA contract level 9, step 4.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, Sharon Gutowski be appointed on probation as a clerk typist, HELPS, effective November 18th, 2025, and ending May 31st, 2026. Salary is based upon CSEA contract level 5, step 1. Note, Mrs. Gutowski's start date is approximated, but it will not be later than December 1st, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just trying to figure out who's happier back there, Mr. McConna or our new hire, Sharon.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried. Welcome aboard.
New business and other stuff. That the Eden Central School District Board of Ed, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approves the capital project change orders as presented. 1, Eden Elementary chimney repair, $16,752.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just briefly, the chimney repair or the need for chimney repair came to our attention while the roof was being repaired. And Campus and Young and Wright were integral with helping us find a mason to handle that work. And as we heard earlier, if we have chimneys that are falling apart, it's pretty important to get those fixed prior to their landing up on the sidewalk. And also as a point of interest, I'll just remind you that we are publicly approving change orders, or you're asking to publicly approve change orders as a response to that comptroller's audit report that was mentioned earlier.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the resolution and adoption of the New York State HELPS hiring for emergency limited placement statewide program be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the overnight cheerleading competition trip to Universal Studios, Florida, March 12th, 2026 through March 16th, 2026 be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the overnight high school student council trip to NYSC LSA November conference on November 23rd through November 25th, 2025 be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the following buses be declared accessed and disposed of as the district deems appropriate. These vehicles have outlived their useful lives and the repair costs have become prohibitive. 2016 Chevy number 220, that VIN number. A 2019 Thomas number 30 or number 230 with that VIN number. 2016 IC bus with that VIN number. And a 2016 Chevrolet number 222 with that VIN number.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the transportation route spreadsheet be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the corrective action plan required to be sent to the New York State Comptroller's Office be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried.
Next, we have the business report.
Okay, so I'm just going to give a kind of quick overview of the budget process since we're already midway through November. Budget season's kind of right around the corner. So the next December board meeting, you will be approving the budget calendar, which kind of lays out all the important dates in the budget development process. The next big date is the November state aid runs, which kind of takes the current law and runs our actual expenditures from the ST3. So what we spent in the 24-25 school year and estimates what our actual aid would be for our expenditure driven aid. So like transportation. And then, we're going to be looking at our January state aid runs, which is the executive run. So when the governor comes out with her proposals, which kind of sets forth what our budget would look like for the 26-27 school year, as well as we are having our meetings with the building level and department level administrators in mid-January, which kind of sets forth what their requests are for the budget development process. So we are kind of already there, and just keep a lookout for that budget calendar that's coming out the next board meeting.
Thank you. Next, we have the superintendent's report.
That's a few things. Over the last couple of weeks, Mrs. May and I, along with our labor management team, have met with 4 different insurance consultants who responded to our request for proposals. Our current consultant, along with 3 others. And the goal there is to determine basically where we can get the best service that to assist us with health insurance, whether we maintain what we're doing now, whether we look at a self-funded approach, or we look at entering into a consortium. There's a number of different options that we can pursue, and the goal is to have high quality health insurance, but at a more affordable price. So we've narrowed it down to who we really think is probably in the best position to help us after a pretty significant amount of research and hearing back from the LMO. You should expect to see an action item in the December meeting regarding a health insurance consultant. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. Mrs. Horschel and I attended the Erie County Association of School Boards legislative dessert reception this past Thursday. I'll gloss over the part that you left with an entire pie. And it was interesting for sure. We actually met with a representative who doesn't represent Eden, but he represents Hamburg and Frontier, where you work. I live in Hamburg and Buffalo, so we were pretty relentless on him, and that was enjoyable for me. Unfortunately, one of the things that we learned is that the pause in the that word. Say it for me.
Electrification.
Thank you. We've had this issue for a week now that I can't get that word out. On homes is separate from the zero emission buses. So I was too. I was too. And actually Jen was so upset she left with an entire pie.
Drown my sorrows.
So and we talked a little bit about the changes in cell phones and how we felt about that. And, you know, I said my piece and we'll leave it at that. But it was overall, it was a good evening. I'm glad we went. I do think we talked a little bit about planning for the next capital project, and I do think as a group, we really should dive a little bit deeper into that building condition survey, to find out what our absolute needs are. When we talk about boilers, we know we have some boilers issues here and there. Having Joe on board and his vast experience, I think, is really important to guide us towards things that we really should do in our next project. But I also think we need to determine, I know we've talked about this, how we can get some more input from the community, beyond just expecting people to attend our meetings, because that's few and far between. So Frankie and I will be looking at how we can set something out, most likely online, to get some feedback about what the community wants to see in our next projects. Okay. Next, Thanksgiving wishes. So I wanna give a shout out to our social workers, Holly Trito, Helen Nab, and Andrea Garrison, for taking the lead in our annual food drive here, along with many others. And there's too many people to list, but our district has always done a really great job of supporting families in need. This year, a little bit added to it. They're working with Thanksgiving blessing boxes, and Laura Wickett, Jeanette Thurn, and Barb Cafferty take the lead there. And I think we're going to be able to help even more families than we have in the past. And I'm greatly appreciative of everyone's efforts, and really appreciate the school and community collaboration on the behalf of our neediest families. And as this is our only meeting in November, I just want to take a moment to thank the board and wish the board a happy Thanksgiving and a happy Thanksgiving to our community as well.
Next, we have the student report, Mr. Sean Jacobs.
So the Thanksgiving food drive is happening right now this week, and it goes until November 21st. We're delivering the food to the Eden North Collins Food Bank on the 24th. Miss Doctor and the student council has an upcoming Just Say Hello event in the cafeteria. We're just making group bulletin boards and having snacks for students and adults. And as previously mentioned, is the leadership conference, NYCLSA, coming up in Niagara Falls, providing students and advisors with an array of knowledge and leadership skills that they can now use to wow in the future. They have 3 guest speakers to motivate and foster leadership in students, and they also have a variety of workshops and activities to attend. It's from the 23rd to the 25th.
Thank you, Sean. Board report and roundtable. I just have one thing. For some reason, I don't know why I was the chosen one. I've had 4 or 5 people come up to me and ask about the blinking light in front of the elementary. I must just look like a friendly face. So I was coming home one day, and Sean Bishop was turning around in my driveway, actually. So I had to wait for him to come out, and I just kind of stopped him and asked him like why it stopped flashing at like 4 o'clock when it used to stop flashing at 6 o'clock. And he said, and I quote, "Well, because I work for you, Cheryl." And I'm like, "You don't work for me." He goes, "Well, you're on the board, right?" And I said, "Oh." So anyway, he was trying to be funny, and he was funny. So about 2 weeks later, I get a ding at the doorbell, and I'm being lazy watching TV, and I look out and there's a police car in my driveway, which I'm sure sent the neighborhood into a frenzy, right, neighbor? And he came back with a response for me. That anybody out there is wondering why it doesn't flash after 4 o'clock anymore, it's now only registered to flash when there's school. So remember, there used to be a sign that said like 7 p.m. to, yeah, they got rid of that. And so now, because people were asking me, well, am I going to get, if it's not flashing and I'm going over 25, am I going to get a ticket? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I would give you a ticket if maybe it's broke. I don't know. So anyway, he said that they will only get a ticket during flashing time and not during, because now it's earlier than 6 o'clock. So he did his job. Oh,
longer because boys and girls
that's,
people are crossing, or
he and I talked about that. We thought maybe that was the case, but yeah. So anyway, made a house call, and now nobody's come up and asked me anymore about it. So All right, the next regular Board of Education meeting is December 15th, 2025 at 6 PM in the middle school, high school library.
I will not be in attendance for that one, so Jen, you will be in charge.
Get to bang the gavel. That upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education enter executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person or persons.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming, everybody.